What's up residents, Alistair here, and welcome back to Dangerville. Today we're going to talk about Kong. No, not that Kong. Nope. Nope. Definitely not that. Yes, that Kong. This film has left a massive impact on the industry and paved the way for practically all giant monsters that we've come to love throughout the years. But what if I was to tell you the film you've all watched is not the complete version, and there is a scene that was too gruesome to be shown? Let's talk about that today at Dangerville. King Kong was quite the phenomenon. Audiences loved it, and the film became a hit back in 1933 when it released, earning a monstrous $5.3 million at the box office, which is around $382 million adjusted for inflation, all on a budget of $672,000, which is around $48 million adjusted for inflation. So it made quite the profit. Kong has become an icon, influencing countless characters throughout the 20th century. But there's one scene that's gone unseen, which might have changed people's outlook on this classic movie, and that is the insect pit scene. It was a graphic scene following Kong shaking off 4 sailors off the log bridge, causing them to fall into the ravine where they were eaten alive by giant spiders. The production company, Radio Pictures, set up a preview screening to garner audience reactions, which gives the editor a better idea on what to change prior to release, as well as figuring out the strengths of the feature to mark it off. At the preview screening, when this scene happened, audience members screamed out loud, covered their eyes, and some even fainted. The rest of the audience either left the theater in a panic or talked about the grisly sequence throughout the subsequent scenes, disrupting the film. Bear in mind this film came out not far from a time in which audiences would jump at the sight of an oncoming train being projected in a cinema. King Kong's director, Merian C. Cooper, said it stopped the picture cold, so the next day at the studio I took it out myself. What wasn't stated is that Merian Cooper apparently tossed the cut sequences in the trash, since it's not been seen since. Only images of the scene remain, as well as the script and some conceptual artwork. It's a complete shame that this piece of history has been lost to time, with the reel of the film most likely deteriorated over time. Though one man came through with a dream to bring this scene back to life, and that man is Peter Jackson. In 2005, prior to the release of his very own remake of King Kong, he set out to recreate the scene from the 1933 film, to fill in the gaps of the film that's since been lost to history. Using the surviving images, screenplay, and concept art, he was able to use the exact same techniques that were used all the way back in 1933 to painstakingly recreate the scene in excruciating detail. Using stop-motion animation, a special effect technique used where artists would move miniatures ever so slightly and then take a picture, and then repeat this before playing the images back at 24 frames per second to give the illusion of movement. Willis O'Brien was the stop-motion artist for the original film, so the animators paid close attention to his work to imitate his style, so that the newly made scene would honor his work and fit seamlessly into the film. The finished footage would then be played back on a rear projection screen so the actors could perform alongside the monsters being a mix of creepy crawlies like scorpions and giant spiders, as well as giant reptiles and even an octopus-like creature. The end result is a completely faithful recreation of the infamous scene that can fit snugly into the film. And even though it's fairly tame for today's standards, it's not hard to see how people that didn't understand the movie techniques might have been terrified by this scene. With no knowledge of what goes into bringing these monsters to life, to them, it would have seemed like magic. Although in 2005, Peter Jackson reimagined the insect scene for his remake of King Kong, in a segment of the film called The Abyssal Chasm. Using modern film techniques, implementing state-of-the-art CGI, green screens, giant sets, and practical effects, he was able to bring that terror to a new age, and it's safe to say he succeeded. But this time, he wasn't afraid to terrify the audiences, with horrifying monsters like the Carniticus, a giant flatworm-like creature that dwells in the swamps of Skull Island that engulfs its prey, slowly devouring them whilst they're still alive and struggling. This scene is predominantly what people remember the most about the 2005 remake, and it's easy to see why. This scene is terrifying and sends shivers down my spine every time I see it. And whilst this whole scene is amazing, I'm happy that Peter Jackson could recreate the classic scene to allow a completely new generation to see the original film as it was meant to be shown, bringing history to our very eyes. It just shows the respect Jackson has for the original, which he's openly stated is one of his favourite films, and one of the main reasons he wanted to get into film in the first place. So without Kong, we wouldn't have got amazing films like The Lord of the Rings and the remake of this iconic film. The likelihood of the original scene being found are almost impossible, but if there's any chance of it being found, we'll be the first to report on it. So subscribe and stomp that notification button to become a resident of our lovely town of Dangerville today. If you enjoyed this look back into a piece of history, leave a like because it lets us know what you want to see more of. Did the remake of the Insect Pit scare you? If so, what was the scariest monster? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget we have a merch line over on Teespring where we have tons of different items for monster fans to browse. The link will be in the description as always. I've been Alistair from Dangerville, and we'll see you residents in the next one.